Hey, hey, good people. Good people. Hey, hey. I just wanted to go on in these last few minutes of Juneteenth and to be in lifelong educator mode. I taught for a long time, so I consider myself a lifelong educator. So, anyway, there's been a lot of talk today. Today is June 19th, although the last few minutes of the day, and there's been a lot of talk about the Juneteenth holiday, which was made a national holiday a few years ago. I think it was in 21. I think President Biden signed it into law in late 21. So, but it is to celebrate the end of slavery or the I guess yeah, so that goes to my point. That goes to why I'm coming live, because I wanted to clear it up. Like, even on all of the shows that I normally listen to or watch, today people were commemorating the holiday, and I respect DL a lot. I mean, his perspective, his understanding about things, I really respect it a lot. But he has consistently misrepresented the truth or given misinformation. But I don't think that is to be incendiary or to create problems. I think it's just that a lot of people don't really know the truth of the events that led up to um, the news getting to Galveston. So basically, DL and a lot of people make the statement that slaves did not. Well, I am constantly mindful of using the word enslaved and not slaves, so as to never have given them the association of property. So the enslaved didn't realize until 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation that they had been freed. But the truth is that when President Lincoln signed the proclamation, that was essentially null and void. Like, he didn't have the authority to liberate or free the enslaved in the southern states. Basically, the Confederacy was not under the president's auspices at that point. He didn't have the authority. And so it was just a document, really, because it didn't have any real effect. So then 2 years later, this is when we start getting closer to the truth of the ending of chattel slavery. So 2 years later, in January of 1865, Congress signed the 13th Amendment, which outlawed involuntary servitude. And so that was the first legislative action, the first step. But then the actual Civil War, uncivil war as I call it, no war is civil, did not end until April of 1865. So that was another 3 months after the Congress signed into law the 13th Amendment. So 3 months from then, in April, is when the war actually ended, which is when officially, well, supposedly, I just learned today that there's even more to it. So I had thought that the end officially was in April, because that was when the Uncivil War ended. But then I found out today, listening to one of those programs that I was talking about, that the 13th Amendment was not ratified until December of 1865. So officially, December is the end of the formal official end of chattel slavery, which is when, the insanity of assuming that one could be owned by another. So anyway, okay, there's that. But backing up to April of 1865, because at that time in the 1860s, well, I think up until let's say the early 1900s, the only transportation that people had were horses. And so because of that, the U.S. Marshals that were relaying the information that the war had ended, and that basically all of the enslaved people of the South had been basically freed, it took them another 2 months to get to the westernmost territory of the Confederacy, just outside of Houston, although I'm not sure. Well, I know that was the name of the city, the Gulf city, Galveston, in 1865, but I'm not sure if Houston was established as a city by then. I'm not sure. But anyway, because it took them an additional 2 months to get to Galveston to relay the news, that is what is marked as the end of enslavement, but not quite. Or that is when it is marked as when the message was finally conveyed to everyone who was affected. And so, but then again, like I said, I just found out today that officially, I guess, with the 13th Amendment being ratified later that year in December in 1865, that is when everything was officially the end. And then, of course, we rolled right into, the law enforcement, and various ways of modifying subjugation, and the reverse of that, the false idea of supremacy. So, what I'll say is that my dad lived in Houston. He was a career oil man, so we would spend our summers there, and so I learned about Juneteenth when we would go, and honestly, the thing that I remembered is that it is where the expression CPT came from, colored people's time, which sort of justifies the tendency to run tardy for Black people in terms of not always being very punctual. Even though I personally believe, now that I have lived in Ghana, I do believe that time and urgency are European constructs, because it's just not how it doesn't work like that there. So anyway, so yeah, so basically, I don't throw any shade to Elder and Divine Nine Sister Opal Lee, who is classified, I guess, at this point as the grandmother of Juneteenth. But for me, because I know the truth of the timeline, it to me, the idea that it took the idea that it took 2.5 years for the enslaved people to learn of their freedom, to me, is like pride misplaced. I don't see that as a point of pride, aside from the dates not holding up to the truth of events, but just the idea that that's something to be celebrated. It doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work for me. But as me.